I can never see myself working for anybody but myself.
I'm obsessed with this idea of self-fulfillment.
Our generation is more equipped for tomorrow's problems.
mtvU and NYSE Euronext teamed up with the Intelligence Group, a consumer insights research company, to survey more than 1,000 millennials nationwide, uncovering their beliefs on business, entrepreneurship, and what it takes for a company to be the next big thing in the ever-changing job market.
Today, everything we need to be successful is just at our fingertips.
The extensive study revealed that 72% of college students are interested in becoming entrepreneurs.
I have a vision for products that can help change the world.
I think part because of my personality and part because I grew up in this generation, I see myself doing something great.
I can do this. This doesn't matter how old I am. So I can be an entrepreneur.
54% of students would rather work in a startup environment than in a Fortune 500 company.
You get to be a part of something big, like everything hinges on your actions.
Gen Ys expect to have 3 different careers before they retire.
There's too many things that are interesting out there for us to just settle down on one thing.
It's not that we have one social networking tool, we have 5.
Why would you settle for one thing and have, it doesn't make sense that you'll be sure of that one thing from the beginning.
There's no denying the rules of business have changed. For today's millennial, success is no longer just measured by power, prestige, and wealth, but a new value system. And the idea of becoming an entrepreneur and your own boss is no longer a dream, but instead a genuine reality.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Scott Cutler. I oversee the listings business here at NYSE Euronext. We want to welcome all of you budding entrepreneurs to our marketplace today. This is our 3rd year of holding this event here at the Exchange, the world center of global markets. And without people like you, we wouldn't have a marketplace today. This is a great opportunity for us to celebrate really the meaning of entrepreneurship, what it means for job creation, what it means for opportunities for students. Unless you think that this is just a New York type of program we're involved with, we are celebrating entrepreneurship at our various platforms around the world this week in Entrepreneurship Week. We have events in Paris, in Brussels, in Lisbon, and in Amsterdam all this week celebrating this very thing we call entrepreneurship. And so I want to welcome you, each of you here today, to really celebrate this opportunity. At this time, it really gives me great pleasure to introduce our moderator as well as our panelists, somebody who is an entrepreneur in his own right, served as the production team that started the Financial News Network. And if you watch the financial news, you see him every single day. He's one of the most respected financial journalists. And it's my honor to introduce our moderator, Bill Griffeth, co-anchor of CNBC's Closing Bell. Bill.
How are you? Anybody? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. And I would like to welcome, if all goes according to plan, we are also live streaming this on CNBC.com right now. So those of you on CNBC.com, we welcome you for this panel discussion here. And I assume everybody here wants to start their own business. Yeah, show of hands, everyone? Okay, good. You've come to the right place. You're flying on the correct airplane. We are all headed to the same destination. I'd like to introduce our panel members. These are the 3 who were the final judges for this year's 3rd annual Movers and Changers competition this year. Our first panel member, a gentleman who apparently, according to the traders on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, should buy the New York Mets. When he got out of college, he started a small consultant firm in Dallas. Was it in Dallas? Yes. It was called Micro Solutions. And in 1990, he sold it to CompuServe for $6 million. I'm not sure what he did after that, though. It's been kind of a quiet career. You know him, of course, as the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, the chairman of HDNet, among many, many other things. Please say hello to Mark Cuban. Our next panel member is herself an entrepreneur. After years of working in the fashion industry, she is a co-founder of the online fashion retailer Gilt Group. You'll find it at gilt.com, and she was just telling me, and we'll talk about this, they just, was it just today, have expanded internationally. They are shipping overseas for the first time. Would you welcome, please, the co-founder and chief merchandising officer of Gilt Group, Alexandra Wilkis Wilson. Welcome aboard. Have a seat. And I love this story. You never know where opportunity will present itself. And it presented itself to our next panel member and judge. He was in the real estate business, still is, but one of their tenants left their spot in the retail sector. They had an open retail storefront. What do? You start your own business to fill that. It is a specialty accessory item boutique that has now 55 stores in 14 states, if that is still correct now.
178 stores in 32 states.
178 stores in 32 states. You need to upgrade your bio there, Charlie. Would you say hello to the founder and CEO of Charming Charlie himself, Charlie Chanaratsopon. How close did I get? Over there. How close did I get?
Chanaratsopon.
Thank you.
There you go.
That's why it's called Charming Charlie.
Much easier.
Brand is everything. Well,
Right.
you can absolutely tease everything. So you're sitting in front of people who want to start their own business. Now, I realize you're preaching to the choir here, but are they crazy? What do they need to know first before they get in? There's a romantic view of starting your own business, Alexandra. What do they need to know that they should know before they start that business?
There are a lot of things that all of you should know, and then there's some things that will probably come as total surprises along the way. But I think you should really think about starting a business as a marathon, and it's a long haul. It's great to have some sort of a goal out in the future. The goal could keep changing. You might have pivots along the way. And in order to run that marathon, you probably are going to be doing many series of sprints. And there are going to be highs and many lows. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be disagreements. There are going to be moments where you're struggling to maintain your cash flow, and you know, one of my number one tips is definitely keep your eye on the cash. Don't let it run out. Anticipate that potential problem that a lot of entrepreneurs face, no matter how well funded the company could be, and just have a whole lot of fun. If you're not having fun, that should be a real sign to you.
Good word of advice anyway. Keep an eye on the cash anyway, whether you're running a business or not. Always good advice there. Are we going to have 72 games this season? No, I shouldn't ask you about that right now. You know, he is...
You're asking Charlie right now, me, right?
He's surprisingly calm for what he's going through today here. Failure. Have you ever had a failure in your career? We all know about the successes. We know about the sales of the businesses. We know about all the things that you've done. You have an NBA championship now, finally, after all the hard work there in Dallas. Any failures?
Oh, I've had plenty of failures. I've gotten fired from jobs, probably more jobs than y'all have had. I've gotten fired from. I had the brilliant idea of thinking that I could really build a big business around selling powdered milk, because powdered milk was cheaper than regular milk, and everybody needs milk. I just thought that taste wasn't all that important. You know, the thing about failures, it really doesn't matter how many times you fail. You know, I could give you a long list of times I failed, and you haven't heard about them. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. All you have, the beautiful thing about business is you only have to be right once, just one time. One time you're a genius, even though you were an idiot, like when I was an idiot, started this powdered milk business. So fail, learn from your failures, get better, get smarter, and then get back up. And then, everybody will tell you how lucky you are, and everybody will tell you you're an overnight success. And you can laugh all the way to the bank to look at all that cash Bill said you got to keep an eye out for. So failure's not the problem. It's just part of the journey, as Alexandra was alluding to, and you just have to learn from it, and you'll get there.
And I am intrigued, Charlie, by when did a real estate guy suddenly decide that he could become a retailer of fashion accessories nonetheless? I mean, whose idea, where did that germ come from? And we sit here today and you have more than 100 shops, as you mentioned, around the country.
178.
Thank you. And if we are here long enough, it'll be 179 before the day is over. But, get me from point A to point B. How that all began there?
Well, as I walked through the malls looking at, wanted to start a specialty retail business, one thing became abundantly clear. I knew I didn't want to be in the apparel business. Being in a highly competitive landscape, everybody really sells apparel. And looking at, there was no specialty store, and that's what we are, a specialty store that completes an outfit. And I was fortunate enough to grow up in the business. My family does manufacturing, sells fashion jewelry and jewelry to sterling silver to retailers. And so, having the investment idea of having the real estate and also having unmet demand for jewelry and accessories, all those three things coming together gave the idea for store number one. And the stores have changed materially since then, but that was the genesis, if you will. And the customers started coming in. After a few weeks, the stores were packed and kept on opening more stores. And I call it our playbook. We made a lot of mistakes and failures along the way, like Mark was discussing, but we learn from those quickly. And so we have a playbook that we look at every day. We keep on iterating, we get back up, and we try to win, and get better at the game.
What was that first day like when you opened the door? 10 o'clock in the morning, and Charming Charlie's is open for business.
It's funny, we talk about the story a lot. The first 3 weeks we opened, the doors were open, a lot of customers didn't come in. Like, man, this is the biggest failure. Shouldn't have done this. By the third Saturday, there was lines waiting to come in the store, which was a lot of fun. And the concept was pretty strong when we started. And then after that, store after store, opening up, customers outside the door waiting to come in.
Why?
So
what happened? What changed?
From
the time you opened and nobody showed up until the line was out the door.
A little bit of marketing helped. It seems like business 101, but that was a mistake, and learn from that. So worked out well.
Alexandra, an online business, how would that differ from what you've done in the brick and mortar world here?
Well, for us in starting Gilt Group, word of mouth was absolutely integral to our business. And what we did is, our site is by invitation only. It's a members-only site when we launched, and we incentivized our members to spread the word and invite their friends. So the first time any friend you invite shops, you would get a $25 credit. And that's incredibly motivating for a lot of people, certainly students. There's some customers that we found over time through data that just really got a rush from seeing their store credits to shop on Gilt Group accumulate. And another thing we noticed over time is that our most important shoppers, our highest spending shoppers, actually didn't want to tell anyone about the site because it was competitive. So one thing you should really pay attention to, whatever your potential business is customer behavior. Understand it, look at data, talk to your customers, listen to them, ask them questions, and if they're open to giving you feedback through whatever channel you invite them to do that, whether it's through email or some sort of chat or social media. Listen to their feedback, tell them that you're listening, and incorporate their ideas into your business. We actually went into the men's fashion business 6 months after we launched women's, which was a lot earlier than we ever anticipated, and that's because 25% of our members were men and they wanted to buy something.
So listening to the customer, I mean, they tell you what they want, and then you have to go do that. So there's a flexibility factor early on, and I guess for all time, as long as the business is open, to listen to that customer and give them what they want, yes?
It's really important to listen, and not every idea your customers give you is something that you're going to agree with, and that's fine, but just be open to hearing what they have to say.
Now that you've launched to go international in terms of shipping overseas, how does that change your business? And why didn't you ship to begin with overseas?
It's actually incredibly complicated to ship inventory overseas for a number of reasons. One is customs and duties and currency conversions. So the US market where we were launching is a huge market. So we felt that in a startup, you have to prioritize your resources and your time. So we prioritized for our first 4 years focusing on the US. But one of the reasons we wanted to start shipping internationally was we realized 5% of the shoppers on our site were shopping from overseas, and we knew that from their IP addresses. So we figured if we're making it so hard for customers to shop through our site, we don't ship anywhere, we don't take foreign credit cards, and 5% of our business is shopping this way. Imagine if we actually facilitated it, accepted foreign credit cards, and shipped to 90 countries. So we have high hopes for that part of our business.
So this is all stuff you learn on the fly as you're going, right? You don't have to know this going in.
There's no way you can know everything about your business going in.
By the way, we'll be taking your questions. We'll have microphones, so not yet, but be thinking about what you would want to ask that I haven't asked yet, and we'll get to that coming up here within the hour. What's the common denominator? I mean, Micro Solutions, Broadcast.com, HDNet, Magnolia Pictures. I mean, you know, all the portfolio that is in your career, other than Mark Cuban being the common denominator, what defines your interests and why you pursued what you did?
I always tried to look at my skill set, what I'm good at and what I suck at. And I focused on what I was good at, which is technology, marketing, and sales. And then asked myself, looking around, where are the opportunities and how can I leverage those things in a differentiated manner? So, you know, back in the 80s when we started Micro Solutions, people didn't even know what a local area network was. We focused on local area networks, connecting PCs together, and I built that and sold it to a company that focused on it. And then with Broadcast.com, we started as a company called AudioNet. You know, the internet was taking off. People didn't even know, about multimedia, the concept of doing audio and video online. No one, people had thought about it, but no one had done it. So I said, okay, it makes sense to be able to take radio stations and then video, TV, and put it online. So we started streaming, and then we sold that to Yahoo. With HDNet, it was like, okay, all the TVs are analog. We're seeing flat screens like you see here. Sure, they're $20,000, but they're following the same price performance curves as technology. So we started HDNet, recognizing that even though everybody was telling me I'm crazy, no one's going to buy $20,000 TVs, I knew those TVs were going to become $500 TVs someday. And then with Landmark and Magnolia in the entertainment business, movies are a very inefficient market. They're always distributed and presented. They had always been distributed the same way. So we said, okay, if we're able to take small to medium-sized movies, and because we own Landmark Theaters, put them onto VOD, which is changing rapidly because it's going digital, before they're in theaters, and change the whole marketing and promotion paradigm, then we'd be able to make money and leverage that, and that's exactly what's happened. So in each case, I tried to look around the corner and say, here's what conventional wisdom is, what are people missing, and how can I leverage my skill set?
See, that's the difference between you and me. I'm looking at a flat panel screen TV and going, wow, look at that picture, isn't that great? And you're looking at a business opportunity.
Yeah, always.
Right?
That's just the way my mind thinks.
Is the mind always going?
Yeah.
How many businesses come and go in a day in your head?
Yeah, I'm kind of OCD on the whole thing, yeah. Literally, I don't know. Like, I'll walk through here, and, like, my first reaction is, if you're all going to start a business, what the hell are you doing sitting here? Go to work. But, and then, like, but then the second part is, how do you facilitate scenarios like this? Who's putting this together? What are the upside? That's just the way my mind works.
And let me ask all three of you, I want to have a conversation here as well. This is not just meet the press interview kind of a thing, but how do you keep your own interest up? That may sound like a strange question, but entrepreneurs are idea people. And once you've brought that idea to fruition, now what, right? But you're still at it. You're still growing that business. So how do you keep your interest up as the process proceeds and not go on to do something else,
Well, personally, I'm still learning a lot every day on the job, and that's something that motivates me, is learning keeping me from being bored. And I love meeting people. So through my job, I meet people every day. I'm constantly interacting with entrepreneurs. Now I'm certainly traveling a lot to help promote our international business. And that's the fuel for my fire. So I know about myself that I'm not happy by myself in a cubicle just reading and analyzing and not interacting with other people. That for me is a depressing day. So I need to get out there and just interact with as many people as I can.
Is there a goal out there? Is there a goal where you can then finally say to yourself, okay, we've done it now?
Well, in terms of our goal for Gilt Group, we're just still building, and you know, the goal is building a luxury lifestyle platform, and so I'm pretty entrenched in the day-to-day of that still 4 years in.
How do you keep the interest up?
I'm competitive as hell. I mean, I just want to win. You know, I see all these smart kids coming up wanting to start business. I want to kick y'all's ass, right? Come on, bring it on. And to me, that's what keeps me going, that competitive fire, whether it's the Mavs or any of my businesses. And that's, you know, and the fear of failure also, you know, plays just as strongly. So, you know, it's just that, you know, I call it the sport of business. You know, and I'll talk to our players. I'm like, look, you guys, the game's 48 minutes. You practice a couple hours. You go home and you rest, you know. In business, it's 24/7 by 365. And someone's always trying to put you out of business or trying to do it better than you. And to me, it's the ultimate sport. And that's why I always keep on trying to, you know, go to the next, you know, make what I have continue to succeed, but also look for new opportunities.
So when you buy the Mets,
yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Keeping the interest up.
You know, I've been here this whole week, and Thursday I went to I wanted to get smart on digital media and social media, how it's going to change the world of retail. You know, I'm a very curious person, so you know, I spent the day there, came out, and had a laundry list of things we want to get smart and get better in. And I called our teams in Houston and said, these are all the things you need to do by tomorrow. And you know, the teams always tell me, Charlie, you want to move too fast. It's too fast. We can't handle all that change. But you know, I'm always really, you know, super curious, learning new things, and it's just really fascinating how you know, consumer behavior is going to change. You talk about the proliferation from, you know, they showed a chart, and it showed the how many units sold the first 4 quarters for iPods. It showed this graph. Then on iPhones, it showed this graph. Then iPads, it went like this. So in the business we're in, fashion retail with brick and mortar, I see there's absolutely huge opportunity tying that with social media and being a very good digital business also. It's pretty exciting. And I feel like we learn every single day. We get out there. It is a sport. It's competitive. We want to win. We move fast. So it's exciting. It's fun.
I want to emphasize that some more. You know, maybe I'm talking to the wrong crowd from this standpoint, but people who are thinking about starting their own business may have all kinds of reservations because I'm not ready, I don't know enough about the business, I don't know enough about the market, about the customer I'll be serving or whatever. You guys just started and you learned as you went, right?
Learn every day.
Yeah. But you also have to remember that the easiest part of starting a business is the idea. You know how you get that really cool idea, you come up with something, you get that feeling in your stomach and you get all pumped up? That happens to everybody, right? That's nothing, right? The hard part is on the execution and going through the preparation, because the fact that you know you're not going to know everything means you have to work all the harder to figure those things out. Because it's not like just because you don't know them, they aren't there, then it won't be a problem. So, the idea is the easy part. We all have ideas. We all think they're great ideas. But then the hard part's actually doing the work. Alexandra talking about, traveling and having to get out there and do all these things. Charlie talking about, learning from his mistakes and going out there and continuing to learn and being curious. Look, it's a never-ending process. And you've really just got to dive in and just be immersed in it. And if you love doing that, like I'm sure we all do, it's easy, it's fun. And if you find yourself thinking this is a job, it's not for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to ask you. You're all talking about the excitement, you're talking about the feeling in the stomach, how much you love all this. What's the worst part about being an entrepreneur? What's the dirty little secret that they need to know about something that they may not like about the process of starting and running their own business? Is there anything?
Well, I wouldn't say that I don't like it personally, but I think a reality is that, as Mark mentioned, this is 24/7, 365. I mean, you never leave. Even if you're home, even if it's a vacation, it's a holiday. I mean, you are living and breathing this business. And you know, in my world, I mean, my friends are customers. My family, they're all customers. So even when I'm on my downtime, people don't leave me alone. They always want to talk about Gill, and that's actually great, and I love it. But you never really get to totally switch off, and you just got to be cool with that.
Yeah, there's no such thing as balance, particularly when you're young, right? I mean, now's the time to start because you really don't have obligations. But Bill was alluding to my first company, Micro Solutions, and I remember I went 7 years without a vacation, and I'd get into relationships with girls, and it'd be like, honey, it's me or your company, right? You spend all your time. You've got to make a choice. And my answer was always the same. My answer was always, what's your name? It's almost impossible to find balance, and maybe for people who are a lot smarter than I am, you can figure it out. But on the flip side, now's the time to start a business because you don't have the mortgage, you don't have the big car payment, you don't, when I started Micro Solutions, I was living 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment, and I was sleeping on the floor, and I had no problem with it because that was just part of the drill. So, you'll find yourself dreaming about it. It's all, it's all encompassing. It's all consuming.
No, I agree. I mean, look, I guess that's the worst side, but I truly love what I do. But it's 24/7, nonstop, every single day. Specifically now with BlackBerries and everything, it's nonstop every moment. But if you really start a business, you start loving it. I mean, you don't even call it a job. You wake up, you go in every day. You're doing new things, exciting things. It's truly rewarding.
We'll take your questions in a moment, so be thinking about what you want to ask, and then our folks with the microphones will be coming down the aisle with that. Is it about the money? When you come up with an idea, when you pursue the business, when you get up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, how much do you think, and I know I'm not talking about keep an eye on the cash. I'm talking about wanting to do this because you want to make a lot of money. Is that the overriding motivating factor? We already know about the guy in the middle there.
At the beginning, look, it's different now because, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. But look, when I'm
selling your business in 1999, yeah, I'd say that
exactly.
was pretty good.
And in 1990, and yeah.
It's all about timing.
But at the same time, when I was, sleeping on the floor, trust me, I drive by the houses and I was like, and and that would motivate me. And so, because when you don't have anything, and you're struggling. I mean, I had a car where, I'd stay awake if I'm driving along just because there was a hole in the floorboard and I could see everything going by, So yeah, money was a huge motivator. It was a huge scorecard, and it's how you keep score. And at certain points it may become less important, but when you're first starting, at least with me, it was hugely important.
Okay, Charlie?
I agree. I mean, look, when you start, it's economic. I mean, when you start, you push, you work hard. I mean, and absolutely, we want to make as much money as we can for shareholders, et cetera, for us. But I think as the business grows, it's still obviously very important about making money, but it does balance out.
But how patient do you have to be before you take money out of the business? I mean, at what point, if money is the motivator, and I'll get to you in a second here, if money is the motivator and money is not coming in, or it's not buying you the car you wanted, or it's not affording you the lifestyle that you aspire to, do you keep at it? Do you do something else? I mean...
Well, I mean, if you enjoy what you do, you just keep at it. I mean, if you have a passion, the drive, and inspiration for your business, I mean, you just keep going. Absolutely.
Is this about the money, Alexandra?
I'm going to say no because someone needs to say no. And I think, I recently had to fill out a questionnaire for a magazine we were promoting overseas. And one of the questions was, what do you want to be remembered for? And I thought a lot about that question. And I think, money was not in my answer at all. And it wasn't even sort of the first 5 things that I thought about. So I think each of you is going to be motivated by something different, and just think about that question. What do you want to be remembered for? Is it you for all the cash you bring home? Is it for your family? Is it for having the most incredible idea for something? And just keep that in mind. And if you feel yourself sort of getting sidetracked along the way, just keep asking yourself that question, and I'm sure your answers are going to change with time.
All right, let's have the microphones come out. Anybody have a question, raise your hand. We have some all over the place here. So as a microphone gets to you, would you stand and ask your question? Gentleman in the middle there, yes.
Hey guys, I'm Steve. I started a company called the Digital Natives Group with my business partner here. And I'm curious on what your opinion is on how our generation is so pressured to be young and successful, and how that affects the decision of going to college or even staying in college.
College or no college, and definition of success for this generation? Anyone?
Well, personally, I'm a big fan of college. I actually said something to some entrepreneurs I spoke with earlier who were asking, should we just get our business launched or finish our last semester in college? And my quick 2 cents was just get that degree. Education is something that can never be taken away from you, and I strongly believe in that. Your bank account over your lifetime could possibly come and go, be wiped out, but a college degree is something you'll always have, and I really strongly believe in the importance of it.
Charlie?
I agree, and starting business, et cetera. I went to business school, and I think I talk a lot about why I think business school was great. It was a breeding ground of learnings every day. You're surrounded by 700 other people talking about business, starting a business, iterating your business plan. I had my business going while I was going to business school, and every day after class, when you're short on cash, when you start a business, I would sit up with our professors for free office hours. I'd be there, every single day afterwards. This is what's going on. This is the mistakes we made. I think college, in addition to just business school, was one of the best things that happened to me, and so I think very highly of it.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of going to college. I think in schools where you can learn the language of business, knowing finance, knowing accounting, knowing marketing, all those elements you learn so that when you get into business, there's fewer hassles that you run into, and you can leverage that up. But that said, I don't think you have to go to the biggest name business school or go to the biggest name school. I think the concept of leaving college with $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 in debt is just moronic. That it is a huge mistake, because then you can't take chances. You can't go out there and go and just wing it, right? Look, when I graduated, I had debt, and I used to hate picking up the phone. Is this Mark? This is the debt collector, right? And this is the bill collector. And I got the dunning notices and all that. So I've been through it. But the idea that you basically mortgaged your future because you wanted to go to a little better school, I don't think that pays off nearly as much as it did in the past.
Yes, Mr. Cuban was in school before there was caller ID, so he was he was answering that phone not knowing who was on the other line before he picked it up. How about we pick somebody on this side? Yes, sir.
Hey guys, my name is Hermione.
Speak up a little bit. We can sort of hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
That's it.
Awesome. Mark, I just want to say I'm a huge Mavericks fan, and hoping for a repeat.
Yep. I love you now.
My question to you guys is, as professional entrepreneurs, how do you guys handle failure?
Failure. There's that word again. I was talking with some high school students, and we were saying, it's such an ugly word. It sounds so final, but it's such a great teaching tool, isn't it? Have you had a failure at Gilt Group?
I think failure is really important, and I think what you do with failure is important. I think, it's no fun, no matter whether you fail on a small level or on a really big level. And I think you should just take time, take a moment, get out a pad and paper, and do your own little SWOT analysis. What possible good came out of this really lousy situation, and learn from that. And don't make the same mistake twice. Again, do not make the same mistake twice. Then you're not paying attention. But if you can prevent yourself from making the same mistake in the future, where the stakes could be higher, then at least you got something really good out of a bad situation.
Is failure always the result of a mistake?
No, failure can be the result of market conditions, of competitors, of timing, of mismanaging people, cash flow. There are so many reasons for failure.
So is failure to be feared, to be avoided at all costs necessarily?
I don't think so. Failure is not the problem. It's quitting that's the problem. But that said, I think one of the things kids today, as they go out to start businesses, are making a mistake at. They think a big accomplishment is going out and raising a lot of money. To me, all the businesses I've really started have started basically with very little money. I didn't go out and raise money first before I started the business. And why that's important is sweat equity is just your time. It's your effort. And you can make a lot of mistakes when what you've lost is time. The minute you go out and take somebody else's money, right, your obligations are different, their expectations are different, and the definition of failure changes. You may have a business that's ongoing, but if you haven't returned money to your investors, they may come in and take steps which make you a failure or cause the business to fail. So I would be very, very careful and very understanding of what the expectations are for investors and what your obligations are, because you have a lot more leeway to fail and to learn and to go forward when what's at risk is your time and your sweat equity and your friend's sweat equity as opposed to somebody else's cash.
Anything you want to add, Charlie?
Sure. I mean, I think failure, I view that almost as, failure or problem as an opportunity. And we talk a lot about, we discuss that a lot in our business is, do we view the glass half full or half empty? And each time we do have failures in our business or opportunities in our business, we just want to learn from them. Again, not do them again, not the same mistake. But I think we learn the most from our failures. I mean, you always remember what not to do. And I think that's almost as important as what you have to do.
And just remember this, it's not if the glass is half full or half empty. It's are you pouring the water?
I love that. Now let's go on this side this time.
That was great.
Yeah, that's good.
Can I steal that from Mark?
Mark stole it.
Hi, everybody. This is Li Jing from Sci Innovation. I work for media. And Mark, you mentioned that when you get the calls from debt collectors, and Alexander, you hate cubicles. And I think it's all about decision making. So can you share your experience about why did you make the decision to go into the business instead? You're all smart. You can work for big companies and make good salaries. What made you decide to take that leap of faith to start your own business?
Good question. Yeah, you're all smart enough. You could be high-profile superstars in big companies. Why'd you decide to do it on your own? Nobody wants to answer this question.
I got fired. I'm a horrible employee. You don't want to hire me. Literally. No, a real quick question. One of my first jobs out of college, I thought just that, I'm going to go work for a big company. So I went to work for a big bank, and I read this article about something I thought applied. So I just sent a note to the CEO, thinking that's what you do when you're, a first-year employee in a bank with thousands of employees. And obviously, my boss didn't like that, and his boss didn't like that, and his boss didn't like that. It didn't add prettily. So it was. Sometimes you just know, I'm just a horrible employee.
For me, I did work in big companies. I lasted a little longer than Mark's little story, but the personal timing in my life was good. I had just gotten married. I felt like I still had an incredible amount of energy and wanted to take a risk, but a calculated risk. And I felt like if I didn't join my co-founders in executing the idea of Gilt Group and recreating online the concept of sample sales, I felt like the train was going to leave the station without me, and I knew that this was the beginning of an industry, and I wanted to get on that train, and I didn't want to miss out, and I wanted to get up and actually drive the train and influence an industry that was being born. So that was important to me. I didn't want to miss out, and I loved the co-founding team that we put together to make it happen. But I also felt safe by the fact that I was married, and if I did have a colossal failure and the business shut down a few months later, at least there were two of us to pay the rent.
So Mark's asking what her name is, and she's getting married. That's the two different ways there. Charlie, break the tie for us.
For me, it was a little different. I think that I've always loved being an entrepreneur, and this is just a quick story. When I was 6 in the first grade, I got sent to the principal's office, and my mom tells me this story. And what I would do with that Nintendo games when I was in the first grade, and what I would do is I would take my Nintendo games and lease them to my friends for $1 a day. And so after a while, I had like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games, and they sent me to the principal's office, my mom. They said, you have to pick up your son, and was almost kind of laughing. I still remember, she tells the story still today. And she goes, you know, your son's making money off other students by leasing video games to them for $1 a day. He shouldn't be doing that. You need to stop that. And you know, obviously it stopped. I had to stop that, but that was kind of my, intuitively, that's in my DNA. And I don't know, it's for other people. I love business, and today now we're selling earrings and handbags, but it's the same core principles as
So you were Netflix for video games before Netflix.
Right.
Yes. Just don't split
1983.
Yeah. Just don't split them in two. I think we're on this side this time. Where'd my microphone lady go?
Right over here.
Over there?
This is going to be our last question.
Oh,
for the
okay,
day.
we go. Last question.
Hi, my name is David Mala. I'm in 11th grade in high school, so do you think I'm too young to start like trying to make a business?
Well, we have a 6-year-old over here that was leasing games out. What is a good age to start?
I don't think there's an answer to that question in terms of what's a good age to start, but I think if it's a great idea, go for it. Like you were trading video games, I had lemonade stands, jewelry stands, all of that when I was a really young girl, and I would think if it's a great idea, you think you can make it successful, go for it. You just have to start thinking about opportunity costs. Like hopefully you'll still be able to go to college, and that's something you're going to have to think about if you're starting a business, but maybe you can find some partners to do the business with you and work through it that way.
I think by the time I was 16, I was already through my 5th or 6th business. I mean, go for it. Why not?
How old were you on the powdered milk business?
Got to go back there, huh?
Yeah.
I was 22.
Yeah, okay.
22.
No,
6 years old is your answer, right?
Yeah, 6 years old.
Yeah. Good start there. We're going to wrap it up here, and then we'll be announcing the winner of the competition. But I want to ask you, as we're finishing up here today, what's the thing you want these budding entrepreneurs to know, to take with them today from this conversation? What is it that you feel is important for them to know about being an entrepreneur? Alexandra, I'll start with you.
So one thing that I think is really helpful in being an entrepreneur is seek out people who are going to tell you your idea is a bad idea and listen to them really carefully, because there probably are elements of your business model that you haven't fully thought about, and maybe there are even some bad ideas embedded in there. And if you can anticipate what the naysayers are going to tell you, you can actually use it to your advantage.
And when someone says to you, not a good idea, I mean, you don't take that to heart. You say, I want to know more about why you're saying what you're saying. Is that it?
You pull out a notebook, you take as many notes as possible, you ask as many questions so you understand, is it just you don't like how I'm marketing my idea? Is it you don't like the fact that the idea maybe is only focused on certain niche markets, or do you just think the entire idea isn't going to work? If the entire idea isn't going to work, you have a problem. But if it's just elements that are solvable, one of the reasons someone might be negative on it is, well, you're going to need to raise more money than you initially thought. That's okay. Those are all solvable problems. But listen to them, ask questions, and hopefully you'll be meeting a lot more people who think it's a great idea than people who think it's a bad idea. But it's okay for not everyone to love your idea.
But you learn more from the people who don't like the idea, I would think. I mean, you're going to get people who, mothers love ideas, right? Oh, honey, I think that's a terrific idea, go. But you'll learn more from those who don't like the idea.
I think it's valuable to listen to criticism as early as you can get it.
Okay, Mark, what's your takeaway for these guys today?
I'd say focus on starting a business you can do yourself. Because not that you won't get help from other people, but if you can start a business that's small, by definition yourself, and that forces you to learn how to do all the pieces. That forces you to get involved, focus on making it happen. But it also takes away the reasons why you can't do it. Because I talk to a lot of kids about starting businesses, and I hear all the things they can't do. I can't raise money. I can't get someone to do this. I can't get someone to do that. Or I need someone to do this. There's always going to be a business opportunity where, yeah, if you could raise $10 million and get the smartest people on the planet to help you, you might have a chance. But your best place to start is something that you can do it yourself, because If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you've learned, and then you can do the next one, and then the next one, and keep on learning. And there's no barrier to entry because of cash or other reasons. So find something you can do by yourself or with a friend, and go for it.
Okay, Charlie?
I think, get back up. If you fail, get back up, because you're going to have a business plan. You're going to lay it out that, hey, you want to be at X in X amount of months or years. And obviously, there's always going to be different paths to that roadmap. And if you fail, you get derailed. Stop, look, and just get back up and keep on going. And just have a lot of fun while you're doing it. It's very important.
I lied. That wasn't my last question, because a very important issue that I'm surprised didn't come up, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Where does that first dollar come from? When you talk about raising money to start your business, you have the idea, but it's money that's going to get that business off the ground. Where do you find the money to start your business, typically? Banks aren't lending right now, by the way.
I think it's the worst mistake ever to go to a bank to try to borrow money for a startup, particularly if you're young, because, like I said, that changes the rules. Because then you're beholden to the bank, and your first desire is to pay back the bank as opposed to focusing on the business. But I literally have never, when I started the company, I've never gone out to raise money first. And that's why I say you focus on a business where sweat equity is the most important ingredient. And if you absolutely have to go out and raise some money, then your customers are the first place, I think, the first place to look. Alexander was absolutely right. Go talk to people, and if they believe enough in your idea and they're a potential customer, why wouldn't they buy your product from you first? Hey, I love Gill Group. I'll become a customer. Show me what I can buy, and that helps fund what the company is doing. I always looked at customers.
Where'd the first dollar come from for Micro Solutions?
A company called Architectural Lighting. I got fired from my job at Your Business Software, and I said, I'd been talking to him. I said, look, I got no money. I'm sleeping on the floor, 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment. But if you'll buy this software through me, I promise that I will do everything possible I'll focus just on you, and I'll make sure it works. And if it doesn't work, I'll go out and get a job and pay you back. And they put up the money, the $500 to get me started.
Okay. Money, where does it come from? Charlie?
We have partners today, and as we look at that, I looked at people that that had experience in our industry. They could help and mentor us with the business as we grew. That's hit bumps along the way, and so not looking for smart money as partners, and that's what I did a few years ago. So we have partners today in our business, and they've added a lot of value as we grow the business.
So you look to other people. Is that where the first dollar came from for you, for the business you started?
Fortunately, the first dollar came from a few dealings in real estate, which rolled into Trump Show.
Okay, Alexandra?
I think friends and family are potentially networks you might be able to tap into. Another thing you could think about is if you feel like your idea needs some refining and needs people to challenge your idea, and you want access to great mentors and you don't really know how to go about that process, thinking about applying for an incubator program. There are a number of incubators all over the country. That's a path you might take. You don't necessarily get a lot of cash as a result. You get a little bit, but you get access to some pretty amazing investors and former entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs, et cetera. So it's a good network to think about joining.
What do you offer them in return?
What do the incubators? Sorry.
No, friends and family.
Oh,
you go to friends and family and say, I want to borrow money, I'm going to start a business. What do they get out of it?
Well, you need to be savvy about how you take on money. So you would be giving up some ownership in the company, and that could be through stock, it could be through stock options, you could do a convertible note. There are a lot of different ways to go about that. If you have any friends who are lawyers, definitely talk to them, make some friends who are lawyers. I think it's always incredibly valuable to be able to tap into legal advice. But don't be afraid. Personally, I think it's not such a scary thing to be giving up ownership in a company. I think it's very dangerous when entrepreneurs are like, no, I want to hold on to every last bit of ownership. I believe it's important when you hire people to join your team over time. everybody should feel like an owner in your company. Everyone should have stock options. You're going to get just a lot more passion for it. So investors get some ownership, and that's okay, because especially if it's smart money, they're also going to be supporting you along the way.
You also have to remember where you are in your life cycle, though, as well, right? If you're a junior in high school or even a junior in college, right, you're probably going to be taking a different approach and looking at a different type of business to start up than if you're 25, 30, 35, 40, right? So you've got to understand where you are in your knowledge cycle, your learning cycle, what type of business it is, how it competes, because you're going to take a different approach in each part of your life. And so you have to recognize where you are.
One last question. When is it time to fold it? When we said you hate the Q word, quit. Failure is one thing, but quitting is not it. But when do you know it's time to put that business down and do something else?
Well, she started with cash, right? When you run out of cash.
Okay.
No, all seriousness. If your business is growing, you have a good market, you're in a good industry, you have the right team, you don't quit.
Okay, so it's not in your vocabulary. This is interesting. This is interesting, right? When do you quit? Nobody wants to answer that question. All right, very good. I'd like to thank our panel, Alexandra, Mark, Charlie.
Hello. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Now, in addition to this great forum, mtvU and NYSE Euronext teamed up for a Movers and Changers competition where we had students from all over the country submit their unique business ideas. We narrowed them down to 2 final teams. Skill Hub from the University of Pennsylvania. Let's give it up for Skill Hub. And Skill Hub is a global platform to exchange skills via webcam. And then we had Howard University's My College Hustle. Let's give it up for them too. And that's a site to help students discover, promote, and monetize their skills. Now, the teams presented their business plans earlier today to our wonderful panel of judges. And now, for the winner announcement. Let's hear from one of our judges. Charlie, will you do the honor? And here we go.
I think it works here. Oh, okay, yeah. You guys should all be really proud of yourselves. Your ideas were really innovative, and we can't wait to see them all becoming huge successes in the future. But unfortunately, we had to pick one winner. So without further ado, the winner of the 3rd season on MTV and NYSE Movers and Changers competition, and the $25,000 in startup money is Skill Hub.
Come on up.